I want to show you the exact moment most Christians forfeit their financial freedom. It's not when they sign for the car loan. It's not when they swipe the credit card. It's on a Sunday morning when the offering plate slides past and they feel that little twinge in their chest. That twinge is not about your budget. Let's be real. God is not stressed about your bank account. That twinge is a diagnostic. It's telling you exactly who owns your heart. And until we deal with that question honestly, no budgeting app, no Dave Ramsey plan, no side hustle is going to set you free, because the problem isn't in your spreadsheet. The problem is in your spirit. So today, we're going to talk about the truth about tithing that most Christians never actually hear. Not the guilt version, not the give to get version, the real version. Here is the hard truth about how most churches teach tithing. They teach it like a vending machine. Put in 10%, press the button, watch your blessing drop. And I get why that's appealing, because it makes the math simple. But here's what that theology actually does. It turns your faith into a lottery ticket. You're not giving, you're gambling. You're not worshiping, you're negotiating. And the moment your blessing doesn't show up on your timeline, you're done. You walk away convinced that tithing doesn't work. But here's what nobody told you. Tithing was never designed to work that way. The tithe is not a transaction, it is a test. And the thing being tested is not your generosity, it is your trust. Let's go to the text. Leviticus 27:30 says this: "A tithe of everything from the land, whether grain from the soil or fruit from the trees, belongs to the Lord. It is holy to the Lord." The tithe is holy, set apart, not because money is sacred, but because the act of giving it first is sacred. Now here's the piece that changed everything for me. And this is the thing most people miss. The tithe isn't the last 10%, it's the first. That's the whole concept of first fruits. You don't give God what's left after the bills. You give him what comes before the bills. And why does that matter? Because giving the last 10% requires math. You look at what's left, you calculate if you can afford it, and you give. But giving the first 10%, that requires faith. It requires you to say, before you see how the month plays out, I trust that the source of this income is more reliable than my own ability to manage it. That is a completely different posture, and that posture is what changes you. Now let's talk about mammon, because Jesus didn't say you cannot serve God and money. He used a specific word, mammon. Mammon is not just cash. Mammon is a spirit. It is the voice that whispers, you are your own provider. You are one missed paycheck away from disaster. You need to hold on tight, because nobody is coming to rescue you. That is the spirit of mammon, and it lives in most of our financial decisions, Christian or not. Tithing is a pattern interrupt. Every single time you put that 10% in first, you are looking mammon in the face and saying, you are not my source, God is. And let me tell you why the 90% argument is not magic, it's mechanics. People say, God blesses the 90%, so it goes further than the 100%, and I believe that. But I want to give you the practical layer underneath that spiritual truth. When you commit to tithing first, you are forced to budget. You are forced to look at what's left and make a plan. You stop leaking money on subscriptions you forgot about, impulse purchases, and I'll figure it out later spending. The discipline that tithing creates is the blessing. You don't need a miracle in your bank account. You need to stop letting money disappear. Hey, if you're feeling defensive right now, I was right there with you. I used to say, I'll tithe when I can afford to, which meant I was never going to tithe. Stick with me, because we're about to flip this into the most practical money advice you've heard all year. Luke 16:11, Jesus is speaking. He says, if you have not been faithful with worldly wealth, who will trust you with true riches? That verse is not about heaven. Jesus is talking about the connection between how you handle money now and what God can release into your hands next. Faithfulness with money is a prerequisite for kingdom assignment. Now, let me make this extremely practical, because this is the part of tithing nobody talks about. If you can tithe, you can save. Same muscle, same discipline. You're just changing the destination. If you can tithe, you can invest, because you've already proven you can delay gratification. If you can tithe, you can get out of debt, because you've already learned to live on less than you make, which is literally the only way debt gets paid off. Tithing is not the ceiling of your financial life. It is the floor. It is the foundation discipline that every other healthy financial habit is built on. Think of it like this. Tithing is the first line item of a kingdom budget. It is the anchor. And when the anchor is set, everything else gets organized around it. You can't tithe effectively without a plan. And the moment you start planning, you have crossed the threshold from financial survival into financial stewardship. Okay, Malachi 3:10, the famous one. Bring the whole tithe into the storehouse. Test me in this, says the Lord Almighty, and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing that there will not be room enough to store it. And then the part people skip. I will prevent pests from devouring your crops. The devourer. Let's be real about what that looks like in 2026. It's not locusts eating your harvest. The devourer is the hidden subscription you forgot to cancel. $14.99 a month, 36 months. That's $540 gone. The devourer is the credit card interest quietly compounding at 27% APR while you make minimum payments. The devourer is the impulse purchase disguised as self-care. The devourer is the financial leak you never plug because you never look. When God says, I will rebuke the devourer, He's not sending an angel to your bank. He is giving you eyes to see where the money is going. He is developing in you the wisdom and the will to stop the bleeding. That is the blessing. Wisdom is the blessing. Discipline is the blessing. Here's what I need you to take away from this. Tithing is not about God's budget. God owns everything. He doesn't need your 10%. Tithing is about your freedom. It is the spiritual test that reveals who owns your heart. It is the financial discipline that builds the muscle to manage everything else. It is the first act of faith that says, I am not my own provider. So here is your kingdom challenge. Try the 90-day tithe. Not to get rich, not to test God like He's a vending machine. Do it to answer one honest question. Can God be trusted? Track what happens in your budget. Track what happens in your spending habits. Track what happens in your peace of mind, and then come back and tell me. Drop a comment below. What is the biggest thing holding you back from tithing right now? Is it the math, or is it the trust? Be honest. I read every single comment. I'll be in there all week. And if this hit different today, share it with one person in your life who needs to hear it, not to guilt them, because you genuinely want them to be free. See you in the next one. This is more than a budget. This is your legacy. This is the moment you decide that your family's future will not be defined by debt, but by the faithfulness of God. Take the step, trust the process, and watch how the King of Kings handles the wealth you've placed in His hands. Your 90 days starts now. I'll see you on the other side of your breakthrough. Kingdom Wealth HQ, faith, finance, freedom. See you in the next one.